Good evening this evening. Nice to see you. Okay, some music for us today. Listen to the words. It will be good for me. The melody is so sweet. You know what I mean? Hey, thank you for joining. Alright, so this is Good For Me by one amazing young lady, Fisayo Tekodebode. You should check it out on YouTube. It's new. It fills you with some. It encourages you, and then your hope is rekindled. That's what it does for me. I don't know what it will do for you, so you should try it out. You should check it out and see what the song will do for you. So thank you, Fisayo. Thank you for sharing your gifts with the world. All right, how are we doing today? My name is Deshola Shoso, and I'm a family life practitioner. I'm a parenting coach. I'm your parenting support system, if you will let me. And today I'll be talking about the goal of parenting, the primary purpose of parenting. And we've talked about what parenting is, and defining this will tell us what parenting is not, right? So let's get right into it so that we can achieve as much as we can within the time that we have. Okay. All right, so what's the primary purpose of parenting? I don't know. Is anybody online that would give us what they think it is? A little bit of interaction today. Anybody? All right. The primary purpose of parenting is to not have to parent anymore. That's at the basic level. That's what it is. For you to have done parenting so well that you don't have to parent anymore. Now note that I said that you don't have to. It's not a necessity. If you don't parent anymore, your job would have been done. It's to get the child that you're parenting to the point where you don't have to parent them anymore, right? So if we look at it from the perspective of a seed and the seed handler, as my mentor Praise Forward likes to call it, the seed is at the mercy of the seed handler. If the seed handler here, oh yes, thank you, coaching and nurturing a set of young adults. Okay, yes, thank you, dear, thank you. Yes, that's parenting. Parenting is mentoring. Parenting is discipleship. So if you are not able to disciple to the point where your disciple is not is no longer completely dependent on you, then there's something that is not quite right in that situation. So like I said, the seed handler and the seed. As a parent, you're the seed handler. And any farmer will tell you that there are conditions that are necessary, that are required for a seed to perform at its optimum. For the seed to thrive, to even germinate to begin with, to thrive, to yield as much fruits as possible. Because the goal of a farmer is profit. And the more a seed yields results, the more the gains of the farmer. So if we look at this in light of parenting, your job as the seed handler, as the parent, is to guide your seed to, first of all, on your part, identify what the capabilities of this seed would be. Then your job would be to provide the enabling environment. We're talking about farming now. So if your seed requires water, you provide water. If they require manure, you provide manure. If they require fertilizer, you provide fertilizer. You do what is necessary to help this seed achieve its greatest potential. So when you identify this potential, you're able to nurture it and develop it and help your seed, your child, maximize their potential. So that's what the primary purpose of parenting is. At the end of the day, you don't want to do this throughout the life of your child. Now, if it is done correctly and you factor in the fact that parenting is relationship, then the fact that you don't need to parent doesn't mean you're not still parenting. But you don't have to. Again, you don't have to. So your 30-year-old, I'm using that as an example. Your 30-year-old is not completely reliant on you. You have done the work when you needed to do it. Remember, intentional parenting, as we have described it, is understanding two things. The time that you have with your child is limited, and secondly, what you do with that time is important. And intentional parenting is parenting with an end in sight, with a goal, with the purpose in mind. You're parenting from the end to the beginning. So once you have been able to picture that, we've discussed visionary parenting as well. The vision that you have seen, the picture that you have seen, working in that direction, grooming your child in that direction. And like I said, when we know what the purpose of parenting is, then we know what it is not. So parenting is not a retirement plan. It's not a succession plan per se, except you have the same skill set, except your child has the same potentials as you do, which doesn't happen all the time, right? If it does happen and you're able to raise someone to replace you, then that's fine. Remember, we're talking about the potentials of the child. So the potential of the child is what is priority here. So your job is to identify, is to observe. Now, I'm going to quickly tell us what our responsibilities as parents are at different stages of our children's lives. So from age 0 to 3, your job is observation. You're a scout. You're watching. You're learning. You're allowing this child thrive. You're allowing them be, and you're taking a back seat. You're learning. You're observing. You're watching who they are. You're watching what potentials they have arrived on this planet with. You're watching what their temperament is. You're watching how they learn. You're watching how they communicate. You're watching how what their attention span is. You're observing what interests them. Do they like colors? Do they like to play with water? You're observing. You are exposing them, and then you're observing how they react to what you're exposing them to. Between ages 4 and 6, your job is to model. Now, at this point, your child is questioning. Your child is wondering, how do we do this? What do we do with this body in some cases? What do we do in terms of manners? What do we do in terms of character? So you're modeling. You're representing who you expect this child to become. Remember, you're working from the end to the beginning. So you have seen this child as a fully grown adult who is stable, who is organized, who is disciplined, who can motivate themselves, and you're working from that side. So you're modeling those things. Now, I'm not asking you to be perfect. There's no perfect parent, but you're doing the best you can to model these character attributes, these values, these principles to your child. Now, between ages 7 and 9, you're an instructor. Your job is to provide direction. So your child has a mind of their own at that point. They're trying out things. They're questioning things. They're saying, no, can I do it like that? Your job is to guide, is to gently nudge, is to provide direction, is to with explanation tell them this is how you should do it, and this is why you should do it like this. You might even have to do this earlier, okay? But this is typically what you do within this age range. And between ages 10 to 12, you are a friend. You are a friend. Your child is discovering things. They're approaching puberty, so they are questioning things about their bodies. They are feeling things that they don't quite understand. So if you have done the earlier stages correctly, and I'm not asking you to be perfect, but if you have done the best you can with what you have, right? If you have done the best you can, then your child trusts you to bring these things to your attention, to ask you for advice, to tell you they have heard this, they learned this, and they are wondering, they are questioning, their minds are trying to understand. They are approaching teen years, so they're exposed to things that you may or may not be aware of, but they trust you enough to bring them to you, and then you have an opportunity to get ahead of it and to be able to correct wrong impressions, to be able to guide them in the way that you have them go, and you're able to be vulnerable and be open to accept and say, okay, I don't know what to do with this information. I'm going to find out what my response should be. I'm going to talk to somebody. Okay, let us research on the internet together. Let us ask questions. You are vulnerable and self-aware enough to accept that, okay, I'm not equipped to handle this at this point in time. Can you give me some time and let me get back to you on that? Now, between ages 13 to 18, you're a coach, you're an encourager. Your child most likely, usually, is completely formed, right? Their mindset, their value system is rock solid at this point, right? So you hope that you have been able to instill the values that you want them to grow through life with at that point. And so your job is to, the direction that they have chosen to go in, to encourage them, to support them, to be a cheerleader, if you will. Your job is to go along in the direction that they would have, that you would have, that they have chosen to go with your guidance. But you're not being forceful. You're not saying this is what you must do. At 18, if this is your plan, remember you should have a vision. If your vision is to have your child independent and be able to handle themselves, take care of themselves by 18, then you know at this point there's no all bets are off. There isn't much you can do, because if they're moving out of the house, if they are away at university, then they're out of the house and that's done. That's about that. What you have been able to do, that's why we say the time you have is limited. What you've been able to do within those years is what will now reflect. Your report card, right, will now show whether you have been able to successfully build a relationship, instilled values, developed their character, help them to have good self-esteem, they have a right orientation of themselves, they're able to question procedures and processes, they're able to think solutions, they're able to put other people ahead of themselves. For instance, if you have been able to do all your work well, then at this point, when they're 19, typically your support system, you are available when they ask for your opinion. When they bring it to you, you have an opinion. It is not the time for you to say, why didn't you tell me that? Oh, they didn't feel the need to tell you that. And the ones that they tell you, you appreciate that they carry you along, right? And because parenting is relationship, this is where it shows. This is where it shows that there is a relationship. So they don't have to tell you, but they tell you anyway. They don't have to tell you they're changing jobs or whatever. I'm talking about age 19 and above, right? They don't have to tell you, but they tell you anyway. They carry you along because they trust you, because they rate you. And they understand that they're not subject to what you say. If you're trying to enforce your opinion on your 19-year-old and above, something has gone wrong somewhere. You shouldn't be forceful about it. You should be able to make suggestions. If they agree with you, they take it. If they don't, you take it. And you accept the fact that I've said what I think is best, and this child has a mind of their own. So, like I said, yes, exactly. So like I said, hi Banky Cream, welcome, thank you for joining us. Let me quickly do a recap because of you, because I like you. Okay, not because I like you, because I appreciate you coming online, and I like you as well. So what I've said so far is that parenting, the goal of parenting, the purpose of parenting is not to have to parent anymore. So you are getting your child to the point where they are not dependent on you. You don't have to parent, but you do. You still parent, but you don't have to. This child can take care of themselves. They're contributing members of society. They're able to self-regulate. They're able to self-motivate. You don't have to come and wake them up and say, take for instance your child in university. You're not there to say, come and be going to class. So if the child does not see the point in going to class, sorry, that's about that. There isn't much you can do about it anymore. And then I talked about having a vision. If your plan is for your child to attain this degree of independence by 18, then you have to work with that consciousness from the time that they are born. So yeah, you're guiding, you're teaching, you're being an example, you're working towards that goal because you have set the goal to begin with. Right? So you don't want to do what you're not supposed to be doing for your 30-year-old, for your 25-year-old. You're not supposed to be hands-on at that point. You're supposed to work from the sidelines, to be a cheerleader, to be a technical advisor. When they bring requests to you, you're supposed to chip in. When they don't bring it to you, you're supposed to pray and hope that all is going well with their lives, because at that point they don't owe you anymore. But because if you have built a relationship, then they bring their matters to you. There's this person they're interested in, they bring it to your attention, they talk to you about it because they trust you, because they believe that they are aware that you want the best for them. And this is where I should mention the difference between domestication and discipline, because a lot of our parenting angles in Nigeria and Africa is more of domestication. It's not discipline. If a person is disciplined, then you don't have to push them all the time. Now, I'm not talking about your young children who have short attention spans, who are still here and there, right? Who are still dragged here and there by the cares of life, who are still driven by impulses, who are working on self-regulation. I'm talking about your adults. You're not supposed to have to drag them and pull them and say, come and do that. That way they're domesticated. They did all those things because you were watching. And when your child grows taller than you, my people say when okra grows beyond, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible proverb. But it is said that when okra grows taller than its hello ma'am, good evening, thank you for joining in. When okra grows taller than its owner, then you cut it. There is nothing more atrocious than that. But because what they're trying to say is once it grows taller and you can't reach it, then you have to cut it down. That's the kind of parenting that we kind of tend to practice in Nigeria, in Africa, right? Younger people are not perceived as having as much value as older people, and the ignorance is staggering sometimes, right? So your child being disciplined or domesticated. If they are being disciplined, then they're able to do these things. They're able to push themselves. They're able to self-motivate in that particular direction. You have taught them why. You have given them reasons why they should arrange their stuff before bed. If they do it only when you're present, then you're working on domestication, not discipline. You're not working on discipline. You're working towards domestication, because when they now when they're now on their own, they're not able to drive themselves, then there's something wrong, right? And that's not our goal. That is not the purpose of parenting. But the purpose of parenting is to not have to parent. You parent, yes, because the parent's work is never done, but you don't have to. That's the whole point. All right, so I've talked about the roles of parents in the different phases of their children's lives. 0 to 3, you're a scout, your job is observation. 4 to 6, you're a role model, you're showing examples. The child is watching you and they're learning and they're absorbing. Between ages 7 and 9, you're an instructor, you're providing direction, you're gently nudging. Because we've talked about communication before, it's important that you watch how you speak to your children, how you address them. You're not you're not working towards domestication. You're working towards disciplined human beings, right? Fully grown adults who are self-disciplined, who have self-control, who are able to take care of themselves when you're not there, right? So between ages 10 to 12, you patiently listen, you're a friend, you're a support system. 1 minute, please. All right. You're a support system, right? Between ages 13 and 18, you're a coach. You're encouraging. You're cheering them on. They have a good idea of what they're doing, of what they want to do, and you're cheering them on. You're supporting them. You're showing up for them, right? Ages 19 and above, a technical advisor. What they bring to you is what you know. If they don't bring it to you, then that's that. If they seek your opinion, you give it. If they don't seek your opinion, you take it like that. It means they can handle themselves. And please, let's disabuse our minds of the fact that if they don't tell me, that means I'm not important. No, you have raised them to be able to take care of themselves. So let them do it. Let them take care of themselves. If they don't feel the need to seek your opinion, because it's not permission, it's just your opinion, because they can do it without telling you. But when they carry you along, oh really, oh that's nice, okay, do you need advice or you just want me to listen? We need to get to that point, because see, the children that are of this generation, the Gen Zs that are around now, they are not like us. We make excuses for our parents. Whatever they did right, whatever it is they did wrong, we make excuses for them. And exactly, yes, I like this. I once read that a good mother is not one that gives you a shoulder to lean on, but one that makes you lean on her. And that's fantastic. That's exactly what I'm saying. I should pack up now and go, because that's exactly what I'm saying. The dependence is not compulsory, but they depend on you. They rely on you because they want to, because you have successfully built a relationship, because there's trust, there's respect that you share, there's mutual respect. Like I like to say, you're going to be adults with your children at the same time. You're going to be adults at the same time. You're going to have similar issues at the same time. You're going to be parents at the same time. You're going to be in-laws at the same time. You're going to be business people at the same time. So what you do with the period in which they are growing and learning is to practice for that future, is to have that vision inside. So if you have that vision, then work on it now. If it's important for you to raise a child who is respectful and kind, work on it now rather than later. All right. So your what is the other thing I wanted to mention? Okay, yes, as a parent, your goal is to raise someone who doesn't need to be parented, someone who is fully functional, who is a contributing member of society, someone who is able to self-regulate and manage themselves and handle themselves, whether you're there or not. Seed handler, your job is to provide the enabling environment for the seed to thrive. So you observe, you notice what the capacity of this seed is, and your mission, should you choose to accept it with the Mission Impossible reference, is to do your best to raise this person to be able to stand next to you without needing to rely on you. Like we just read, a mother gives you a shoulder to lean on, but you don't have to lean on that person. So I'm asking you to commit your vision for your child to writing. Put it down, let it be plain, and work towards that vision. Daily work towards that vision. Speak to that child. And here I should mention, your perceptual code of your child is everything. It's a word that describes your perception of your child, that embodies your perception of your child. I like to use royalty when it comes to my children. So once that is defined, then I have limitations around what I can do to them, with them, at them, whatever adjective you want to put there. I can't just do, because I am in the presence of royalty. Now I'm not asking you to defer to your children or not be able to address them or correct them. No, that's the other extreme. What I'm describing is a situation where you see them as that word that you have used. Now, if we're using royalty, I like to use perceptual code. Yes, I like to use Prince George of England as an example, because he's a child, right? He's a child. He's about 6 or so now. He's third in line to the British throne, and I don't think anybody who is all right, who is stable, would disrespect that boy, as little or as young as he is. I don't think anybody would take something and spank him with it. I don't think anybody is in a hurry to pass away like that, because I don't know what would motivate you to look at that child and say, this is the next person I want to beat because he said something. So if he does something that is not right, there is a way to speak to him, there is a way to address him, there's a way to correct him, right? And if he forgets, then you remind him. He's third in line to the British throne. So I'm asking you to find a word that describes your child. Now, if Prince George were a guest in your house, you would treat him like that, right? Because you understand that he's third in line to the British throne. Okay? So if Prince George can get that treatment from you, then your child does not deserve any less than that. Your child deserves that degree of regard from you, because you're looking at your child in the future, right? The ultimate parent is a parent who is able to identify, maximize, and release this child into the world in service to God and to humanity. That is my definition of an ultimate parent. So I charge you, with everything I've said, to be an ultimate parent. Let your goal be to raise your child to the extent that they don't need you to parent them. You don't need to micromanage them. They're able to rely on themselves, teach them to have enough self-esteem, to be able to pursue goals, overtake, teach them to fail gallantly, teach them to understand that they are not the physical objects that they have, teach them to value themselves, to understand the inherent value that they carry as human beings. That's where your perceptual code comes in. Teach them to respect other people, to understand and to see value in other people. Teach them to pursue goals that are for the benefit of not just themselves, but for humanity. Because when they solve problems on the global scale, that's what puts them on the map. That's what puts money in their pockets, literally. The more complex the problems they are able to solve, and the more people they're able to solve it for, the more resources come their way, because money is an exchange of value. So if they're able to provide value in that regard, then they're able to get value in return. So your takeaway today, write down your vision for your child, put it plainly, possibly put a date to it. So let's say you're trying to raise an 18-year-old who can handle themselves. So you're working towards age 18. That tells you that the time you have is short, because you blink and these children are as tall as you, right? So work towards it. If you need to study, start now. If you need to talk to somebody, to attend a course, to take a class, start now. Definitely, if you were raised by an African parent, you need to unlearn things. Start now. Anything, any form of culture that stands in the way of you achieving that goal for your child, let it go. What people say, what they do is secondary. That vision of you raising an independent individual. Now, I am not saying raise your child such that they walk away from home and they never look back and they don't feel bad about it. No, I am saying build a relationship with your child such that they want to come home, not because they have to. Again, we make excuses for our parents. Gen Z will not make excuses for us because we know better. We know better now, so we have to do better. Their generation is an improvement of ours. Ours is an improvement on our parents. So we need to do better. There's a need for there to be growth, right? I mean, there won't be any points to anything, life, if you will, if things are not getting better generation by generation. So let us pull up our big boys and girls pants and be responsible for our children. Let us raise self-reliant adults who will contribute positively to society and will give us rest. We deserve it, right? We deserve rest and peace of mind after raising our children. So I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope something has dropped in your heart and something has dropped in your mind, and that you understand that the time is short and you begin to work towards it. Pick up a book, take an online course, read something, talk to a professional. If you're observing problem behaviors with your children, talk to somebody who can help you resolve it early on, right? So that they don't get to the point where all you can do is just watch and support regardless of what they do, because that time will come that all you can do is observe, and all you can do is watch from the sidelines. But before you get to that point, talk to somebody who can help you with your children, so that you can make the most of your parenting opportunity. I celebrate you. I thank you. Thank you, Banky Kim. I appreciate your comments this evening. I appreciate you coming online. Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you for thanking me. All right, thank you. I will see you next time. God bless you and the children. And well done. I should say this. Well done. Thank you, parents, for hanging in there, for doing the grunt work, for showing up. And I pray for help for you as you raise your children. God bless you. Bye. Okay.